DS-ADAPT X versus Titleist GT2. Today, I'm going to be taking you through 6 different data sets, 2 different swing speeds, 3 areas across the face, hours and hours of hitting, hundreds of shots this took me to collect this data to give you guys one of the most in-depth performance-based tests of these clubs anywhere on YouTube. So today we'll be swinging at 90 mile an hour and 105 mile an hour. And we'll be getting 3 data sets at both of those speeds. Obviously a good data set, reasonably good centered strikes, really bad heel strikes, and then really bad toe strikes as well. Again, breaking all the data sets down so we can see all the drop off, how they perform against each other, out the middle, out the heel, out the toe, at both of those swing speeds. Today, the question is, can the Cobra keep up with the Titleist out the middle and especially across the face and at a price point that's more than £100 cheaper than the Titleist? So we've got 2 versions of this video. This one is the long edit, extended version for all you golf nerds out there like me. I'm going to be showing you loads of hitting, loads of shots, talking you through individual shots, all of the data, pinpointing specific shots, comparable shots, miss hits, good ones with these heads, a real in-depth dive to show you how these heads perform against each other, then taking you through all of the average data sets as well. If you're not interested in the long version, I'll link the short version below, where it's just me talking you through all the data I gathered from this test and just telling you how they compare. Right, enough talking, let's jump into the hitting. And if you enjoy our content and you appreciate the amount of effort that we put into making this content for you guys, please consider subscribing. Starting off at the slower swing speed of 90 mile an hour, I'm going to be starting off in the DS-X. So specs wise, we've got the 10.5 head just set neutral at 10.5. Obviously got 2 weights in this head, a 10 and a 3. So we're going to have the 10 playing at the back, kind of mimicking the GT2 setup. Shaft wise, we've got the Accurate GX150 M3. 45-inch playing length. The shaft will obviously be going into the Titleist as well to keep things nice and consistent. So we're going to start off with a good data set before moving through to different speeds and miss-hitting it all over the face. Tell you what, I wasn't absolutely middled, but that has done very well. Great numbers, 14.5 launch, 2,300 backspin, still 142 efficiency. Didn't quite catch that. I mean, it's not a million miles away, but it certainly isn't centered. 335 yards, 20 yards offline. It's a good start. So for the sake of this data and the test, effectively anything inside 10 mil, I'll call center. Obviously we get millimeter readings on GC quad. Anything within 10 mil with each of the drivers throughout this entire test will class as middle. And then obviously as we move into heel and toe, anything outside of that 10 mil will be classed into the heel or toe. That felt a little bit more middled. Tell you what, this driver does feel really good. If you haven't gone out and tested these yet, I really would recommend doing so because they feel fantastic. Very similar launch and spin. Strike fractionally low in the head, but the efficiency comes up to 1.44, right around that 90 mile an hour club head speed mark. So yeah, it's 2 really good drives to start. Again, it wasn't bad. Left the face fractionally open on that one, but consistent strikes. Which goes to show how much just leaving that face a fraction open there. That spin goes from 2.3 to 3.1, just from leaving that face a couple of degrees more open. And looks-wise down by the ball, I think Cobra have done a fantastic job with this. Little bit of a LTD vibe going on with that little slither down the front, just tiny, like old school sort of tailor-made vibes. But the whole thing, kind of that matte black, well, it's kind of satin, it's got a little bit of a sort of shimmer to it, but certainly not gloss. The shaping's really nice, the finish is really nice, and it's framed really nice with that little sliver down the front as well. So yeah, I think they've done a fantastic job with the looks. That felt really good. Probably the most centered one so far. Get on that little green. Like the tiniest green out there. I think it's like 230, which is typically a sort of ballpark for swinging around 90 mile an hour, around that 230 mark. Yeah, good strike. 3K spin. That was pretty damn good as well. Probably one of the better shots so far today, that. Really grouping it nicely. Slightly low in the head, but on average, pretty good. Great delivery there. Yeah, kind of getting a similar sort of result every time, aren't we? Which is what we want in these tests, to be fair. I want it to be consistent because I want to get a good idea of how the head performs overall. maybe a couple of mil high, but yeah, a couple of mil high, face fraction close. So you get really good numbers when I do that. Turn it over slightly. This at 10.5, probably fractionally too high spin, but that where I caught it a little bit high, turned it over, spin drops to 2.3. Again, really, really good result, 2.37. It's always around that 2.30 to 2.35. That's probably one of the longer ones there at 2.37, swinging at 90 mile an hour. So, right, let's jump into the Titleist. Moving into the GT2, so specs-wise, obviously we've got exactly the same shaft just plugged straight into the Titleist in our universal adapter system. We've got the 10-degree GT2 head, standard weight at the back. Now on our system, we can move loft by half a degree. So this is a 10-degree set at 10.5 on the loft sleeve. So about as close as we can physically get spec for spec. So let's see how this does. Straight away, that is mad how much more loft this head looks like it's got than the Cobra. The same loft, but because of these lines that they've added with the Titleist, the new GTs, it really does look like there is a ton of loft down there. Tell you what, it was a little bit out the neck, but fairly similar carry. To be honest, it's probably very similar to the first one I hit with the Cobra, in all honesty. Fractionally necky, yeah, 5 mil, but pretty good. Fairly reasonable face path, 2.8 spin. 230 total. Looks-wise, I mean, this is just such a classic head, isn't it? The Titleist, the shaping is classic. Just the gloss black paint is so classic. Really, I mean, it still looks like a similar shape, I would say. Obviously, the finish is completely different, but the one thing that really does stand out is just that face. Like, you can see the whole face. If you said to me that's a 9-degree driver and this is a 12-degree driver, I'd almost believe you. It looks that much more lofted, but in terms of the actual shape, I'll probably edge it to this. I personally do prefer the kind of satiny matte look of the Cobra, but shaping wise and just how it sits, I'll probably just edge it to Titleist. That felt solid. Let's see, a fraction low in the head, I think, but again, rolling out to that. I mean, we have one at 237, I think, with the Cobra. Yeah, fractionally in the toe, but again, that's going to count as a centered, good efficiency, 144. Rolling out to 235, 2.6 spin. Whew, these heads could be close. That was middled. Get on that green. Oh yes. And again, very similar to the Cobra. Face probably, it's basically square, wasn't it, with a centered strike. Spin comes up to 3,000. So we did see a couple with the Cobra at 3,000 as well. So just showing potentially maybe even more similarities. Feel-wise, I've got to say, considering that was basically bang out the middle, that one, I prefer the feel of the Cobra. I think the Cobra feels that little bit more solid. Maybe a fraction heel again, but just does so well. So well. Again, 15 launch, 2.8 spin. I mean, I've seen that, yeah, like a couple of mil heel, but pretty good. Seen that 2.8 spin a few times now. But again, for a fraction of a miss hit, really good. I don't know. I think these are going to be super, super close. And that was pretty good. A little bit more of a fade delivery on that, but you won. Can't argue with the result though. That was pretty good. Yeah. I shot 40 there at 90 mile an hour with a good shot. So I'll probably hit a few more with the GT2 just because I wanted to really make sure, a tiny bit low toe, but just wanted to make sure I like to get a good idea of what I think the club's going to do even before I jump into the average data. I really want to get a feel for how the club actually performs. So I feel like I'm giving you guys really accurate and representative data. So yeah, that's quite a lot hitting with the GT2. So let's look at the numbers. Right, 90 mile an hour, good data. So 90 mile an hour swing speed, the good shots. First of all, I'll show you the club delivery data just to show you how I swung them. Again, for me, I'm just trying to be as much like a robot as I possibly can in this scenario to give objective, fair, comparable data for you guys. Strike, you can see very, very comparable. I think it was like 1 millimeter lower on average with the GT2, but basically as close as I could get. Attack, less than, well, basically half a degree in it really. path comparison, 0.3 in it, face 0.8 in it, dynamic loft 0.2 in it, swing speed 0.4 in it. So I mean, really, you can see the biggest thing that's different is dynamic lie is the GT2 is a lot more toe up than the Dark Speed DS, same thing. But I don't know if that is actually kind of, should it be more upright or not? I don't know, but generally this data is pretty good at, you know, showing the differences. So it probably is a little bit more upright, the GT2, than the DS-ADAPT. But yeah, on average, I think a very, very fair delivery and strike comparison of how these heads are going to perform. Right, ball flight performance data. First thing I'm going to touch on is the actual ball flight. So the peak height, identical, both 91 feet in the air. The Cobra did have like a shallower descent angle by like half a degree or something, but basically the ball flight was no different. Ball speed, 0.4 miles an hour in it. Launch, about half a degree in it. Spin, about 200 to 300 revs in it. Carry, 2 yards in it. Total, 3 yards in it. So the Cobra, fractionally longer, and realistically that's coming from slightly lower spin. And to be honest, I'm always looking at the data, every shot that I hit, and obviously I hit a lot more than I show you. And I'm always trying to figure out what is it, like launch and spin, how does it actually compare? And I think that's a pretty fair representative comparison. I think the only thing I was really noticing is I think the Cobra is fractionally lower spin than the Titleist. Apart from that, I couldn't really see any differences. Again, like this ball flight and this result, if you hit that on course, you're not going to notice any difference at all. Like they're very, very, very comparable. I mean, again, dispersion it's showing fractionally better with the Titleist. Again, you'll know I'm not a believer that that's got anything to do with the club whatsoever in this scenario. It's all down to me. And same on standard deviations, you know, you could argue to a certain degree that they may overlap. They're that close, and they are. I do think that the Cobra is fractionally lower spin, strike for strike, but it's close. Saying a little bit tighter standard deviation with the Titleist, but again, it's going to be far more down to me than it is the club. So the reality of the performance difference, I think the Cobra is just fractionally lower spin. With the good ones tested, it's time to go across the face, starting off in the toe. So sticking with GT2, 90 mile an hour swing speed, exactly the same setup. So anything worse than 10 mil in the toe is going to count as sort of a bad toe strike. I'll make sure they're comparable data sets with each of the clubs. And obviously I'm going to be trying to get some really bad ones as well to test the extremities of these clubs and see if there are any differences. Jesus. That was super, uber, duper, mega toey. That was bad. That's actually the worst one of it. So 33 mil toe. That's almost off the face. It was that bad. 15 yards of line, solid, still 90 mile an hour and 216 yards. So, I mean, really there for an absolutely awful strike. Like, couldn't have hit it much worse without missing it. We probably, I mean, max we've lost 20 yards and we're still in the fairway. It's a good result. Again, that is very similar. Yeah. 204. It's basically the same strike, I think, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, that's 4 strikes there, almost on top of each other, way out in the toe, 31 mil. Again, 215 odd yards in the fairway. They keep getting worse and worse, these toe strikes. That was so bad. Actually, the face was fairly square, I believe, on that impact. Yeah, so 0.3 closed relative to the path. That's actually a really interesting one to see because, okay, this is a very extreme example. I mean, literally hitting it almost off the face. But, I mean, swinging 3 out to win in the face is square. If you hit that out the middle, it goes kind of straight left. Path 3 left, face is dead square relative to that path. The ball just goes straight left. So that probably would have ended up 20-ish yards left of target. Ended up 23.8 yards right of target because obviously through impact, it would have just been spinning that face open because of the really bad toe strike. So really testing that MOI. But again, it's kept us probably in play. 23 yards right of target at 212 for a horrific strike. Again, I mean, you really cannot argue with that. It's very impressive. So I'm going to hit another 5 or 10 shots with this out the toe just to get a good average data set. And then we'll jump into the Cobra. So I was getting some very consistent results there from the GT with the toe strikes. So moving back into the DS-ADAPT X, again, same setup, 10.5, same shaft. Let's get some toe strikes. I don't know if it was that toey. I mean, that felt unbelievably solid, and I think it was pretty toey. Not as bad, to be fair, as some of the ones that I had with the Titleist that were 33, yeah, so 20 mil toe. There was one that I hit fairly comparable to that with the Titleist, actually. Let me grab that. That's the data with a Titleist that I hit earlier, which I didn't show you. That was 24 mil toe, face basically square relative to a slightly left path. We got 200 carry. And this is what I just hit with the Cobra. So toe strike, maybe not quite as bad, 19 mil toe, but somewhat comparable. Again, face dead square relative to a path that's maybe slightly more left with the Cobra. But again, it's 200 carry. Okay, it's fractionally more left, which is probably a good thing. Well, the path was also a little bit more left, which would have aided that, of course. But the less gear effect that we get, the less the face is going to open. Less the face opens, the more it holds its line. So fractionally more left, but the reality is, again, it's done fantastic. And actually comparing those two shots, the reality of the outcome, virtually the same. Oh my, wow. That was like off the face bad. I can't actually believe how well that's done. 215. I mean, that was maybe, yeah, 37 mil toe. So the Titleists were like 33-ish, and that was horrendous. 37 is like, you can't really get much worse than that. You're going to miss the face. Like, that is so bad. 215 yards, 11 yards offline. Cobra's good. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. Super toey. And that was 90 mile an hour swing speed. It's such a good result. 220, like, we were getting about 230 on good ones at 90 mile an hour. Okay, 21 mil toe. It's not horrendous, but it's like not good. What a result. Challenge is now I've got to get some really toey ones to kind of make it comparable with the Titleist. That's one thing I always do, is I'm almost trying to match the data sets to the millimeter to make sure it's about as fair a comparison as like a human can possibly do. There we go. That was terrible. It still held its line remarkably well, to be honest, because the face, I think, was 3 degrees open there. Yeah, so I'd expect it to go more right than that, probably with a center strike, and that was 39 millimeters toe. Horrific. But okay, 200 yards total, so we did lose quite a bit of distance, but that was awful. It's held its line. I mean, it's probably still fairway. So toe strike comparison, 90 mile an hour swing speed, again showing you the club data briefly, mainly that strike. I mean, honestly, those were so toey, it was just stupid. Again, super comparable. If anything, maybe 1 or 2 mil lower with the Titleist. Again, same as the main data set, but really very, very comparable. Attack less than a degree in it, path less than a degree in it. If anything, the face was one of the major differences, that the face was a little bit more closed on average with the Titleist. Again, this is even harder for me to be a robot in this. In all fairness, trying to swing at a swing speed way slower than mine and trying to completely miss it, it is very tough. But again, I feel like it's a really quite a fair comparison in terms of the strikes were very comparable. And again, the swing speeds there within 0.1 of a mile an hour. Again, dynamic loft, like within 0.1 of a mile an hour. And even now still, we see the toe quite a bit more up with the GT2. So that probably is more upright. But again, I feel like this is a very fair comparison of the heads. But again, the story is exactly the same. I mean, ball speed, all right, saying we got a little bit more out of the Titleist. In fairness, like not bad, 1.6 mile an hour, right? That's something, a little bit more efficiency out of the Titleist. But again, the face was fractionally more closed, which would normally tie into getting a little bit more ball speed. So again, take from that what you will, but a fraction more ball speed. Again, we see a tiny bit lower spin with the DS-ADAPT. So again, that continues, which is good to see. But again, ultimately, the ball flight is exactly the same. The distance is exactly the same. Interesting that the dispersion is a little bit more right biased with the Titleist, even though on average the face was a little bit more closed with the Titleist. So you'd imagine strike for strike that should be going a little bit more left, and actually it's going a bit more right. Again, hard to say scientifically and factually if that means that the face was deflecting slightly less with the Cobra and maybe slightly more with the Titleist, meaning if it deflects more open from the toe strike, it goes more right from the Titleist. Again, possibly, I couldn't say 100% for sure, in all honesty, but that Cobra did feel very solid through impact, like it maybe was gearing slightly less. But again, take from that what you will, but it's blooming close. So insanely close results at the toe. So sticking with the DS-X, time to test the heel. Oh, that felt horrendous. Absolutely hate that feeling of a terrible heel strike. But again, it's 216 yards. That was awful. 23 mil heel. Great launch and spin. 14 launch, 2-3 backspin. And again, it's held its line. It's barely curved at all. That would likely be in the fairway. It's an amazing result. Yes, that was horrendous. But okay, what a great result. Consider, I think the path was pretty neutral on that, and the face was 2.5 degrees open. And it was like the worst heel strike yet, slightly low and in the heel. And that's curved to 11 yards offline. That's basically middle of the fairway. And what, 207 yards? It's just brilliant. I just love doing these tests, and I think it's so interesting that, again, this being the X model, they've got the K, which is like their sort of like 10K, saying max forgiveness. You just ain't getting more forgiving than that. Like, you're just not. I'm good at these miss hits. I'll say that, because I'm getting worse and worse every time. That was so heel. That had zero side spin on it. Yeah, saying just terrible. Okay, yeah, it probably did gear a little bit because it probably wouldn't have started quite that far left if I hadn't hit it at the heel. So it has ended up 25 yards left of target, which some holes might be dead, but it's not horrendous. Probably left rough. Zero side spin. Like, it did not curve at all from that heel strike. Again, still 209 yards. I mean, that, yeah. Oh. I mean, that's just so good, isn't it? Again, that was mega heely, and yeah, it's been a sort of like 4 basically on top of each other. Okay, a couple a little bit low. Again, it's 217, 5 yards offline. These drivers, they're like, it always used to be that the toe was so much better than the heel when you were mishitting it. But to be honest, I'm seeing that there, getting very similar, maybe even fractionally better results with this at the heel than the toe. So we'll get about another 5 or so shots with this again at the heel, just to make sure we've got a really good representative data set. And then we'll jump into the Titleist and do the same thing. I mean, in all honesty, I think the Titleist got his work cut out for it. And I did not expect to be saying that coming into this test. Again, some impressive stuff from the Cobra back into the GT2. Again, same shaft, same setup. Let's test this heel. Oh, wowzers. That was absolutely horrific. Yep, 32 mil in the heel. Great result. Again, 10, 11 yards offline, 196 yards. I mean, you cannot grumble at that whatsoever. Interesting thing straight off the bat going back into this from the Cobra is, okay, again, I know it was a mishit. It was a bad mishit, in fairness. Still didn't feel quite as solid as that Cobra. I mean, there's something about that Cobra across the face, regardless whether the numbers show it or not, which obviously we'll see. It does just feel a little bit more stable. Absolutely heely as insert beep. Again, fantastic result. Similar thing, way out in that heel. Efficiency drops about 1.36, not too dissimilar to a lot that we were seeing from the Cobra, but again, 207, 12 yards offline. That'd be a good one to see, because it was heely, but it didn't feel horrendously heely. It's done so well, hasn't it? I mean, again, bearing in mind that the good ones were, I don't know, maybe 235, like on a really good one. It gets 14 mil heel, so it's not terrible, but instantly I knew it was heely, so that's like a good sort of heely one. Again, perfect little fade, down the middle, 227 yards. Barely, like, you'd barely know that that one was hit out the heel, to be honest with you. That didn't feel nice. So they just don't seem to sort of like curve excessively. And again, that there, the face was 3.5 degrees open at impact, so that should have gone right. Yeah, out in the heel, face 3.5 degrees open, should have really gone right. Again, I mean, you look at that ball flight, it just looks like a nice little fade. Again, in the fairway, again, 204. Like, again, just some really impressive stuff from the Titleist as well. Okay, 90-mile-an-hour swing speed, really bad heel strike comparison. Club data page, you can see there, again, the strikes on average, very, very, very comparable, way out in that heel. It just felt horrible, to be honest. Attack 1 degree in it, path less than a degree in it, face basically identical. Again, dynamic lie slightly more up with the Titleist. Swing speed 90, boom, boom. Efficiency 136. Dynamic loft, again, less than half a degree in it as well. So very comparable swing speed, loft, path, face, and strike. So again, almost robotic, if I do say so myself. And that equated to, again, a very similar pattern. I mean, the ball flight, fairly similar, fraction lower in this data set with the Cobra, but again, such bad mishits, it's hard to say for sure if that would replicate again, but fractionally lower in this data set. But we do see virtually the same ball speed, 122. We see a very, very similar launch around 15. Again, it's just that same pattern of the Cobra being that little bit lower spin, 400 revs lower spin in this test. Again, standard deviations might overlap, but I think that we've seen consistently middle heel and so that Cobra being a little bit lower spin. So again, I do believe that it's 200-300 revs lower spin. But again, the carry was exactly the same. Dispersion patterns, I mean, virtually identical. Okay, we got a little bit more run out with the Cobra probably because of a slightly lower spin. But the reality, again, same as when you hit it out the middle. If you hit any of these on the course, are you going to really notice any difference in ball flight, in kind of carry, anything like that? You're not. I mean, these heads are remarkably close. Right, time to up the speed a little bit. 90 mile an hour, fully completed, out the middle, out the heel, out the toe. It's time to do exactly the same at 105 mile an hour swing speed. So for this, we're going to be changing the specs slightly. Starting off in the GT2, now we've moved from 10.5 down to 9, and we've moved shaft into the Ventus Red 50 stiff, effectively the 5S. So it's 2024 Velocore Plus Red 5S. Again, 45-inch playing length, stock weight in the head. We're going to be starting off with good strikes with this and then moving through to those mishits. He says as he completely mishits it to start off with. Tell you what though, again, it's a really good one to see. That was a bit out of the heel. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it's low heel. That was not a great strike at all. 10 yards offline at 270. It's a pretty good result. I mean, to be fair, that was 9 mil low, 9 mil heel. So it's just within that kind of 10 mil radius away from the center. So it's going to count as a center strike. Not perfect, but decent and a really good result. That was one of the better ones. Yep. A couple of mil high on the face, maybe that. About 104 swing speeds, that's pretty good. Pretty damn good strike. 14 launch, 2.4 backspin, 262. Again, it's around that 250, 260 carry really on a decent one, isn't it? But good ball flight, good numbers. Come back. And starting to find the range a little bit now. Starting to strike it a little bit better. Or around that 104, 105 now. So there's little things like that. That spin just spikes up. So I just didn't quite close the face. It was pretty square to the path. Struck it maybe a couple of mil low in the head. Spin comes up to 3,000. We lose. We lost maybe 6, 7 yards, possibly 5 yards at most. 17 yards offline. Still absolutely fine. Yeah, it felt good. There's last three right sort of around that 105 mark. Very consistent results, to be honest. I mean, that one I just pushed, dropped a couple of yards. That one there, getting back up to that 260 sort of mark. 13 launch. It probably really is right around that 13 launch, 2.5 spin. The sort of low 150s ball speed, carrying around that 260 yards. So I feel like there's some good, really consistent shots in there to go with. So let's jump into the Cobra. Back into the DS-ADAPT X, and now obviously we're going to be sticking with the same shaft, the Ventus Red 5S. Plug straight into this. Again, now 9 degrees, same as the GT2, 10 gram weight at the back, same as the setup we had earlier. So let's get some good shots with this. That felt pretty good. Maybe left the face a fraction open, but I mean, it's a good strike. It's out the middle. Yep, good strike. Face was basically square, so it was the tiniest little like push fade. 12.5 launch, 2.7 backspin, 144 efficiency, 255 carry. Oh, that's so bad. That is so bad. It's just so good, isn't it? Oh, I need to save these ones for the miss-hit section. But yeah, it's way up in the high toe. 284, 8 yards offline. That felt really good. Yeah. I mean, it was a couple of mil low, but not bad. Almost seeing that maybe it's kind of reversing a little bit because the GT2 at that slower swing speed, we're definitely seeing a fraction more spin, but this, I'm not so sure. But this is why we get a lot of shots with each, and I kind of take any bad ones out to try and build a good average data set at the same speed with a similar delivery, a similar strike, to really be as fair as we can to the clubs and give you guys accurate information. There's maybe a fraction low heel, like a tiny bit. Again, really good result. Yeah, touch low heel, but again, still counted as a centre strike. Again, seeing 2800 spin a lot on there. It's been that tiny bit heel, tiny bit toe, a little bit open, square face. Like the spin consistency across the face on this does seem very good. There's 2.8 spin again. Again, that was a bit too quick, but it's like every single shot is like 2.8 spin. That felt nice. Come back. Again, it's like 13 launch, 2.8 spin, 254. It's just like so many times I've seen that number. Again, that was really good as well. That was really good. Yep, great strike. Again, 2.6 spin. 104 club speed, so a little bit better on that one. So yeah, again, I mean, it's been those are really consistent strikes and consistent shots there. I'm going to go through, delete any really bad ones, get a super fair comparable data set with these heads. Let's jump into these numbers. So 105 swing speed, good strike data comparison. Going to start off with the club delivery data page to show you how I swang them and how they compare. Strike, again, very comparable, maybe a fraction more out the toe with the Cobra. Tiny bit, but really very comparable. Attack, half a degree in it. Path, the same. Face, half a degree in it. Again, it's pretty damn good, really. Dynamic loft, 0.7 of a degree difference in it. And swing speed, 104.7 to 104.4. So really, you know, swing speed the same. Angle of attack comparable. Path the same. Face within half a degree. Strike, pretty damn good. About as good as I can possibly do without purchasing a robot. And I cannot afford that. Efficiency, we did get a tiny bit more out of the GT2, in fairness, and a touch less from the Cobra. I did see that, to be honest. There was a few 1.46s with the Titleist. Don't think I got any with the Cobra. So, again, maybe the Titleist is a fraction more efficient. Let's look at the ball data. Look at that ball flight comparison. Again, it's the same. It's just the same. Ball speed, the same. Launch, 0.4 in it. Again, that could easily flip. I think, you know, you could do this test again and they would just slightly change there and thereabouts. Like they're just so close. Spin, 20 revs difference on average. Carry 1 yard in it. Again, dispersion, you could touch on that, but again, that's more me. I don't personally, if anything, I feel like maybe the Cobra is a touch more right biased on average, but you're talking very close in all honesty. I really don't feel like the performance at the middle of these drivers, I just don't feel as much in it at all. Insane. Right, sticking with the DS-X, exactly the same setup, 105 swing speed still. Time to test this toe. That was, again, incredibly toey. Again, similar sort of carry as 103 swing speed, so got it in between there. Pretty good. Again, similar thing. Again, the face was a little bit open, so that would have gone right anyway. You can see it started 7 degrees right, so again, it did gear a bit, but it's just held its line. I mean, come back slightly, 26 yards offline, probably not a disaster in all honesty. Still carried 230 yards, rolling out to 250. I mean, for that much of a bad miss hit, you've still got to say, that is solid. Oh my life. That's remarkable. Honestly, like, you cannot hit it more toey than that without missing the face. Look, 40 millimeters in the toe. Again, 256 yards at 7 yards offline. Remarkable for that. I think that was just middle. Well, to be fair, it was a bit toey. Again, I mean, you'd never really know that that was toey. That did really well. It was probably lowered in the toe slightly. Yeah, it's like 14 mil toe. It's definitely still toe. Again, 143 efficiency, that's basically not far off what you're going to get on a really decent strike anyway. 247 yards carry, 270 yards total, 10 yards offline. Again, it is a miss hit. It's not a terrible miss hit. It's a miss hit. But at that kind of level of miss hit, these drivers now, they basically perform almost as well as out the middle. That was really bad. Again, that is so good. That is so good, honestly. Again, 2.8 spin. The old Cobra, 2.8 again. Yeah, I mean, that's like 25 mil. So that's really bad, but not off the face bad. Again, 244 yards. That ball flight, like, nice little tight draw. Basically, you hit that on course, no one knows you even really mishit it. You probably lost 10 yards, 15 yards maximum. And that was a terrible strike. Again, I come back to my comment previously about the Max K, the 10K forgiveness, 10,000 MOI being more forgiving, more stable than this driver. I'll tell you what, I ain't doing a better job than that. Oh, whew. Jeez. That is not on. Oh, I actually did miss the face. That 50 mil toe. Don't hit it 50 mil toe. You nearly take out a quad. Oh my. Oh yeah, this thing's good on miss hits. It is just good. That was so, yeah. 47 mil toe. That was literally, that one I just hit a second ago was 50 mil and it missed the face. That was 47 mil and it still went 247 yards, 25 offline. Yeah, this thing is just no joke on miss hits. Back into the GT2, exactly the same 9-degree setup as we had earlier. Again, same shaft. Time to test those toe strikes with the Cobra. A really bad toe strike was generally carrying around 230 yards. When I hit that one, slightly out the toe, but not terrible. It was kind of around 250. So let's see how this gets on. That has also done remarkable. Yeah, done really well. Again, it was not like, oh my God, I'm worried about missing the face, but it was, yeah, 29 mil, very toey, 237 carry. And again, similar thing, we can see it geared a bit open, so it started a bit further right than it would have if I'd have struck it out the middle because of the toe strike. Come back nicely, 12 yards offline, 237 carry, 258 total. That is a 10 out of 10. Again, it was definitely toe. Pretty good again though. I mean, it really is just performing amazingly well out the toe. So impressive. Again, 25 mil, 240 carry. Beautiful little draw. This is just remarkable out the toe. It really is. Okay, so that one earlier with the Cobra was about 247 carry, and that was 15 mil. That's 25 mil out the toe at 247 carry, 11 yards offline, 13 launch, 2.6 spin. Can you hit that off the tee? No one even knows that's a miss hit. That is so good. Must say, I think stability on the toe, I do just edge it to the Titleist. Average toe strike data, 105 mile an hour swing speed. Well, actually it was 103 to 102.3. So again, 0.7 of a mile an hour in it. Again, trying to be as comparable as I can. It's quite difficult, I'm not gonna lie. Look at those average strikes. Absolutely horrific. Again, fraction, I think it was 2 mil more toe and 2 mil lower with the Cobra. In fairness, it was fractionally worse strike with the Cobra. It'd be talking like a couple of millimeters. Again, from a delivery perspective, angle of attack within half a degree, path the same, face again within half a degree, dynamic loft within a degree, swing speed 0.7 difference. So efficiency is obviously a big one to look at in terms of how much ball speed will we retain on a bad strike like this. Again, I mean, considering that the dark speed or the DS-ADAPT was fractionally worse in the toe, you can maybe call that the same. Again, I went back after I hit the GT2, I went back and hit more, which I didn't film, with the DS-ADAPT, just to get a bit more of a comparable data set. I needed some more shots. It was really interesting. I hit some bad ones. I was edging it to the Titleist while I was hitting. Then I went back to the DS, hit some terrible ones that were amazing, like both phenomenal out of the toe. So you can maybe say that that's fairly comparable. Let's look at the ball data. Again, it's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Okay, again, saying we got a little bit more ball speed out of the Titleist. Again, a little bit of that is me swinging it a fraction faster, in fairness. And then the strike was also fractionally better, so we got a little bit more efficiency. Both of those things leading to a little bit more ball speed. Again, take from that what you will. I will show you the data. You can make up your own mind. But again, we still see basically the same thing in terms of the launch and the spin. 0.2 in launch, spin still 27. Like, nothing really there at all. Carry 2 yards in it. I mean, again, the Cobra a little bit more right-sided on average. Don't know if maybe the face was gearing open a little bit more through impact with those toe strikes, or maybe it isn't quite as stable, possibly. But I did find it a little bit harder to close the face on the Cobra while I was trying to hit it out of the toe and swing at 105 mile an hour. So a lot of tasks, but it was kind of retaining the face a little bit more open. Again, maybe fraction more right bias on average, but again, in terms of the performance, the efficiency, the ball flight, the distance, relative dispersion, again, let me know what you think in the comments. Again, insane. Now, back into the DS-ADAPT X. Again, 9 degrees, same shaft, obviously. Time to test that heel. Oh, swinging at this speed, trying to heel it with a square face. This could be a challenge. That was heely. And it is a struggle. I'm not going to lie there. This is not easy to commit like you're going to actually hit the shaft. Again, great result though. Yeah, 16 mil heel. Ended up 17 yards offline at 250. It's a brilliant result. Again, interesting to see at this speed, the drop off heel versus toe at the slower swing speed. Almost felt like there didn't really seem to be hardly anything in it, not that much. Whereas I think this, at a slightly higher swing speed now, we might start to see a little bit less stability out of the heel. Again, that was 16 mil heel with a fairly good delivery, and it carried 230. I feel like if that was out of the toe with that speed at that delivery, you're getting another 10, maybe even 15 yards out of that. I'm not hitting it much worse than that. I'm still gobsmacked. That's carried 230. That was awful. And again, 3-2 spin. Yeah, I mean, you cannot get much more low heel than that. That's terrible. Again, a reasonably okay delivery there. Face was, what, 1.5 degrees open though, so it would have gone right regardless of where I struck that on the face. Obviously, we're going to gear the face a little bit more closed in the heel, and it's going to bring it back left to right, which it did there. Again, 18 yards offline. Absolutely fine. 250 yards. Oh! Actually was worried for the shaft then. That was, absolutely hate that feeling so much. Yeah, 3-2 spin. Again, the Cobra, the spin on this thing is insane. Yeah, that's as bad a heel as you're going to get without hitting the shaft. 3-2 spin. So carried 215. We'd expect to lose a lot on that one. Let's be fair. But the more impressive thing in, I mean, that's only ended up 0, 0, 0 offline, dead straight, 237 yards. That was definitely heel, but not awful heel, but definitely heel. Wow. Yeah, it's done remarkably well. 0 side spin on that. Yep, 12 mil heel. So again, not awful heel, but instantly I knew that was heel. 274 yards. 9 yards offline. So incredibly heely, like pretty much miss it out the heel. We saw 215 yards of carry. There, 12 mil heel. Again, not horrendous, but heel. We saw 248 yards of carry. Let's see how the Titleist does. Back into the Titleist to test the heel. Shot 97. It's 10 o'clock on a Friday night. Please subscribe. Oh. That also was like terrifyingly bad out the heel. Easily as bad, if not potentially worse than the one with the Cobra earlier. Yeah, I mean, 30 mil heel, fairly comparable actually. And 215 yards of carry. And again, a remarkably good ball flight for how bad that was. Honestly, I cannot tell you how bad that felt. 4 yards offline. So this was the shot from the Cobra earlier. 30 mil heel, 2 mil low. Again, 103 swing speed, 215 carry, literally bang on line. And this is the one we just hit with the Titleist, 29 mil heel, 5 mil low, so fractionally lower, but basically the same amount in the heel, 103 swing speed, 215 yards of carry, 4 yards offline. Oh, yeah, that was bad. Around 230, 235, that was pretty good. Yeah, 19 mil heel, 7 mil high. Again, we had a couple of very similar ones with that, with the Cobra. I think we're carrying around 230, so 234, 13 yards offline. It's pretty damn solid. Eesh. That feels disgusting. It's done well. That was really bad. That, again, that was not quite as bad as awful. 24 mil heel. Again, it's really not good. 17 yards offline, 238 yards. It's really solid. There's just one more that I kind of want to see. With the Cobra, I had one about 12 mil heel, which did really, really well. So I just want to see if I can get one comparable with the GT. I think that was just middle. Maybe fractionally heel, like the tiniest little bit heel. I carried 260, so it can't have been that bad. Okay, I mean, to be fair, 10 mil heel. All right, I'll bring that one up with the Cobra. So this is the shot with the Cobra, 12 mil heel, pretty neutral face to path in all honesty. 104 swing speed, 248 carry. Now this is what we just hit with the Titleist, 10 mil heel, so not quite as bad heel strike. 105 and so about a mile an hour quicker swing speed. Again, all of these things to take into account. 258 carry. So again, it's not dissimilar, is it? And 10 extra yards. I mean, it didn't feel as bad as the one with the Cobra, if I'm brutally honest. But again, it's just impressive to see a little bit of a heel strike. I mean, again, you would just never ever know that that was a bit of a miss hit. Heel strike data, 105 mile an hour swing speed, or 104 to 103.5. Again, half a mile an hour in it. I'm going to take that. Very comparable strikes, fractionally lower with the Cobra, but in terms of how heely they were, they're virtually identical. Again, I mean, I hit fractionally more up on the Titleist by a degree, but path, again, 0.6 in it, face, 0.3 in it, dynamic loft, exactly the same. Club head speed, half a mile an hour in it. Strike, again, very happy with how this test turned out, and I'm very happy that this is a very fair comparison of these heads. Efficiency, this time it flips, we get a tiny, tiny bit more out of the dark speed. Again, maybe earlier I was thinking I would edge the toe strikes to the Titleist just, but it's very close. Same with this, but reverse. I might edge it to the Cobra just, but again, it's super close. This is how close it is. Again, ball speed, it's the same, isn't it? Launch, we do see a little bit more coming from the Titleist, but that's going to be strike related. In all honesty, we saw how close it was out the middle and out the toe, where this kind of, the strike was a similar sort of level on the face. So I feel the strike height would have been the biggest influence there really in changing that launch. But again, ball speed, spin, 3000, carry is 1 yard in it. I mean, even kind of where they were ending up, left to right dispersion's the same. The average offline was exactly the same. Okay, saying front to back was slightly worse with the GT2. Again, read into that what you will. Again, that will probably be more down to me than it will with the club. But again, everything, I mean, you hit these shots on course. I don't feel like you can split these out the middle or on mishits. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments below. So there you have it, a super in-depth review, head-to-head test of these two clubs. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, what you thought about this video. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what maybe we could include to make it better. Always love to hear your feedback. As I said at the beginning of the video, if the Cobra could keep up with the Titleist, really it's a win for the Cobra being, I would not say a lesser brand at all anymore, but maybe people would think of Titleist of being maybe a slightly more premium brand than Cobra. Again, price point over 100 quid more with the Titleist. So really, it's a massive win for the Cobra. I mean, looks-wise, going to be subjective. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But feel-wise, I personally think Cobra wins. Performance-wise, you saw the numbers, right? I mean, I hit a lot more than what I showed you, a lot more. So from hitting these back-to-back, different setups, different speeds across the face, do I really believe that there's a performance difference in these heads? I don't. I think it's as good across the face. It's as good out the middle. It feels probably slightly better. I don't really know if there's that many negatives. And then you take into account the adjustability of this as well, with the 33 different hosel settings was actually probably more like 45 or 50, something mental. Again, I'll try and do a video on that. You've got the front and back weight that you can flip. So again, it's even more adjustment. So all that with the price being virtually 100 quid cheaper, yeah, I mean, it's just a win-win. I think if you haven't tested this driver, go and test it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy it and you appreciate the effort we put in, please do subscribe. Stay tuned. Loads more to come in January with all of the new releases. Content like this coming your way. So I'll see you in the next one.